everybody, Dieter Kurtenbach here in Oakland. Let's talk about the Warriors' 112-109 loss to the Dallas Mavericks in Texas on Saturday night. The Warriors now have lost 2 straight games, 3 out of the last 4, and while this game was a lot better than what the Warriors put on the court on Thursday night against the Houston Rockets, I guess anything would have been better
than that game Thursday night against the Rockets. It was still not enough
to get the job done, and the first thing we have to talk about is where were Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson down the stretch. Durant goes 1 of 7 in the final 5 minutes. Thompson 0 for 2 from the floor. Just simply not good enough. These guys were getting open looks, don't get me wrong, and the Warriors are going to be happy with the fact that there were open looks. That is what this team predicates itself on. But not knocking down open shots in the clutch, just not good enough. You have to be better than what Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson were on Saturday night. Now they'll get a chance to redeem themselves on Sunday night in San Antonio, but we're starting
to notice a bit of a trend here. Klay Thompson, outside of that 14 three-pointer game in Chicago, is shooting
25% from beyond the arc this season. It's not good enough. This is Klay Thompson, arguably the second greatest shooter of all time. Just not good enough. Kevin Durant, down the stretch, yes, he's getting open looks, but so many mid-range shots, so many isolation looks. There were positives, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of usage. He is still an exceptional player, but the Warriors oftentimes falling out of that flow, falling out of that rhythm that makes them the Golden State Warriors. We saw it for flashes, but just not enough. And this is something that just struck me time and time again watching Saturday night's game. This is how the other 29 teams live, right? You don't have Klay out there, or you don't have Steph out there, you don't have Draymond out there, and you just start to notice that the Warriors, even with a guy
like Klay Thompson, even with a guy like
Kevin Durant, arguably the second greatest player on the planet, they're just kind of normal. They're just kind of another team. And you look at
the talent that's being put around
them, which of course it's not going to be exceptional based on the fact that you have 4 of the greatest players on the planet plus an NBA Finals MVP on your team. Not awesome, to say the least. Now, there were some excellent performances from some of those not awesome guys, some of those G League call-up guys that I'm talking about here. You're talking about Damian Jones, 4 blocks off the bench, really nice game. Kevon Looney got the start. Damian Jones, no issue for him. Played a really nice
game off the bench. Quinn Cook was excellent off the bench.
15 points in 20 minutes, shoots 60%
from 4. Really good game
from Quinn Cook on a night that the Warriors had to have a good game from Quinn Cook. Sean Livingston, the one guy that I didn't mention there when we were discussing the 4 All-Stars and Andre Iguodala. Well, Sean Livingston is as steady as they come. Sean Livingston was outstanding tonight. I thought he should have gotten some more playing time, if we're being totally honest. Now, of course, Steve Kerr wants to take her easy with Sean Livingston, but he was one of the best players for the Warriors all night, not on the floor in crunch time. Maybe that's a decision Steve Kerr
regrets. Maybe that's a decision Steve Kerr changes in the future
should similar circumstances
arise. And Damion Lee. Let's talk about Damion Lee. It's the final point of the night. He was plus
18 and 18 minutes.
And it was strange to see him on the court for 18 minutes, if we're being totally honest, because he's a G League call-up. He's Steph's
brother-in-law. Not a guy that you expect to play serious minutes in a close game. And yet there was
Damion Lee, and he was playing his butt off. And it's
interesting because Jordan
Bell got 17 seconds
in this game. Now,
Jordan Bell and Damion Lee aren't fighting for playing
time, but 17 seconds for a guy who was playing in the NBA Finals last year is something you want to raise your eyebrows to. Jacob Evans, the rookie out of Cincinnati, a guy who has gotten called down to the G League this year, but is a guy that the Warriors believe in long-term, got no time at all. Meanwhile, Damion Lee gets the call-up and he plays really well. It's not surprising when you think about what he provided on Saturday night. When you take it in and you look at what
went down, this is a guy who can space the floor. This is a guy who can knock down a 3. This is a guy who's going to get up and down. And the Warriors really need that when Durant is the central
cog of the offense, because the Warriors, again, just shot so many mid-range shots. And if you're not knocking down 50, 60% of those, you have a very stagnant offense. This is what the entire NBA is moving away from. The Warriors obviously have players that can pull it off in Klay and Durant, but when they're not making them, it looks
really rough out there. So Damion Lee, you might have found your spot in the
rotation for a little bit here as Steph Curry comes back from injury and Draymond Green, who knows how long he'll be out for with this toe injury, just because he can space the floor. Alfonso McKinney, when he comes back, he's going to be asked to space the floor. Spacing is not there. The Warriors look pedestrian, and they could go winless on this road trip, the Texas 3-step Sunday night. So, interesting one in San Antonio. Who thought we'd be saying that a couple of days ago. Crazy
times for the Golden State Warriors. We'll talk after that one.